们接下来进行。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2020 EDN IoV Technology and Application Seminar at Taipei Nangang Exhibition Center Hall 2. My name is Doreen. Next, we have a roundtable forum at the end of today. Thanks for the Bureau of Foreign Trade in Taiwan and the EE Times, EDN Taiwan hosts the international seminar today. So let's welcome Alan Patterson from EE Times. Welcome, give us a new talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Alan Patterson. I'm with EE Times. That's just my brief introduction of myself, and now I'll let each of our guests introduce themselves.
Thank you, Alan. So let me go first. So hi, I'm Odin. So I from look at the AI and.
Hi, I'm Jeff Yen from NVIDIA. I manage technical marketing for Asia, and yeah, really happy to be here.
Gabriel from Acronics. I'm in charge of automotive operations globally. Thank you.
I'm Melber Liu, founder of Kneron. I think you guys probably remember me the most because I just finished my talk. Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Paddy. I'm from Keysight Tech. My main responsibility is build up the telematics platform in Taiwan. Thank you.
Okay, so let me just explain the format of this event. I'm going to ask a few questions of our guests, and I think after that we'll have a brief Q&A session. So with that, I'll jump into my first question. And I'm just throwing this question out to each of our guests. So how does your company expect to fit in the IoV supply chain?
Okay, let me go first.
Whoever wants to jump in.
Okay, let me go first. Okay, so as an arm, so we concentrated to build out some of the foundation block, like the CPU, GPU, and NPU, ISP together. That will help our partner to build out some of the safety and the security real-time platform to avoid like some of the person error or some of the damage, such kind of things. So we do see a lot of the new feature like the machine learning. They will come with the information from the multiple sensor. You need to have some of the good computing block to do the sensor fusion design. So recently, we just announced our AE product. They will call the automotive enhanced product. So they will come with the CPU, we come with the GPU and ISP together. So we believe they will help a lot of a partner can build out a more intelligent, more safety and the security, the chip around the world to fit in the different kind of IoV use case.
Yeah, from NVIDIA's standpoint, you know, like ARM, we work with many, many partners really to try to enable this new generation per se of vehicles, right? Be it for autonomous vehicles, more safety, and you know, we work with actually pretty much everyone here, and just to try to push this entire market forward, be it from a hardware standpoint, from a software standpoint, basically hoping to be part of the platform so that we can enable this new era of vehicles, basically. It's one of these industries that really hasn't changed much in the past 100 years, right? It's just an engine, four wheels, but now we're seeing so many more features added to it, be it autonomy or IoV or, well, they're actually interconnected too. So there's a lot of things that kind of go together here.
Yeah, from a Acronics point of view, I think we provide multiple solutions to enable IoV from memory point of view. We provide a non-volatile memory. For example, recently we introduced the Armor Flash that can provide security features. We work together with NVIDIA on that, and we can enable the very safe connectivity between the vehicles. On top of that, as well as, for example, update over the air, we have like a multi-bank kind of memory products to enable this kind of features as well. And we cooperate with the major solution providers to enable this IoV multiple requirements.
For Kneron's the point of view, as I just mentioned in my previous presentation, actually we have two chips. In the chip point of view, I think we are quite similar as media. For 520, that's something for internal cameras application, for example, DMS, or some like a smart door lock that you can unlock your car. And for 720 series chip, that's something for outside of the car. That's more like ADAS. But except the chip business, Kneron is also working on the what we call the ecosystem platform, which is something we want to provide the blockchain and AI combining a solution provider that can make your car to communicate with other of your device. It's something more like a AIoT platform. And except that, we are also working with some 科技执法, that's some like traffic sign, like traffic or smart traffic recognition to detect some violation, with some Taiwan government like vendor.
Okay, Keysight Tech actually act as a service provider in Taiwan. Actually, in previous experience, so that we provide our traffic data, the traffic information data, and as well as such kind of platform to our client. So we have been figuring out what kind of problem that can be issued in the future on the telematics platform. So we want to act as a service provider, platform provider in the IoV area. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, actually, we had kind of a discussion before we came out here, and it seems like security was quite an interesting topic to everybody. As I'm sure you're aware, a lot of IoT devices are quite vulnerable to hacking. So, if IoT devices are so vulnerable, what about IoV? How do you ensure that IoV is secure in the future?
Maybe I can go first. So I think that's similar. So the people start talking about like the vehicle will be your next generation mobility. So it's like another kind of IoT stuff. So for the security, this is really the key issue. So as an arm, from the foundation side, we created a lot of technology, so-called the trust zone, and we also have something called the Project Cassini. They will ensure the developer, they can develop the software from scratch is under the safety criteria. But on the other way, we know the hacker will find everywhere. So we continue to work with some of the resource technology to understand what they want and how can to avoid those kind of the issue. So from our perspective, we believe the security not just one thing. It's not just one checklist. It's a continuous investment. It's continue to find out the good answer to help the ecosystem the strong.
Yeah, I think from a security perspective, like we were discussing in the back, it's such a big topic that everyone really cares about because, you might think sci-fi movies or whatnot where, some hacker takes over your vehicle and wreaks havoc or something like that. But, that's why all companies in this field basically are looking at, be it from a software standpoint, from a hardware standpoint, finding ways to encrypt everything, make sure, it's basically zero trust so that everything is validated, just to make sure everything's safe, right? People may or may not try to hack your system, but even though we haven't heard of anything, it doesn't mean it won't happen. So be it redundant systems, hardware, software, all these things put together, the whole industry is trying to make a safer vehicle, be it for pedestrians and other people and within the vehicle itself. I'm pretty sure that goes for everyone here.
Yeah, I think back in the room, we talk about IoV along with autonomous driving. So there's a possibility that the hacker coming from the internet area and tampering into the hardware. So from a Corning standpoint, if we look at the memory, we need to do, for example, anti-tampering inside, for example, the storage area. And the communication between the chipset and the memory needs to be encrypted and decrypted. And we do that kind of things. And also the validation for both hardware components is critical. And like Odin, I like what Odin mentioned. This is like evolution of standards. And in Chinese, we call that 道高一尺，魔高一丈, right? So sometimes a hacker got the capability much more than what we can do within the standard, right? So this continuous evolvement. So from a Corning's point of view, for example, we developed the first generation of armor flash, then comes with the second generation with enhanced security features. And that's an ongoing process that's fitting the ecosystem's requirements, security requirements.
I think it's just like everyone sitting here. I think we are more focused in the edge, right? I think we all agree, no matter it's a trust zone solution in ARM or like validation or even some encrypt technology inside the memory, we are all trying to prevent the hack go through the internet to like either control your car or like store some privacy data from your car, right? So reduce the connectivity is always the key because whenever everything is like charged in the edge, then reduce the frequency to connect with the cloud, then that will reduce the possibility for hacking your system. So I think it's just the same like no matter it's ARM's trust zone, keep everything protect inside your chip. Or like NVIDIA is also doing the same thing with Kneron, right? We are doing AI chip is just want to make the judgment or make the inference capability more strong, make all the judgment inside your car instead of rely on the cloud. Then you only need to connect to the cloud doing the OTA update instead of all like sending all the data into the cloud. Then that will they will come out like a couple of benefits, right? First is of course is the privacy, reduce the security or reduce the possibility to be hacked by the hacker. And second is also higher the operation speed. Then you don't need to rely on the cloud doing the judgment. If there's any lag, they will higher the possibility for the accident to happen, right? And except the no matter it's trust zone or doing the AI chip doing the inference, Kneron also provide another solution which we combine the blockchain into your chip. So the data transfer between your device or between the device and device or the sensor to the sensor, there is first there's one level of security. Of course, we also have something very similar like trust zone. We have a secure IP inside that, and also the data was encrypted or processed by the AI chip, which is a CNN accelerator. So the data even you store or even the hack is super smart and hack into your system. The data they got is a weighting matrix, which is the data processed after the CNN accelerator. It's not the real data. That's the first level of security protection. And the second level is a blockchain. Because that's a private blockchain, so even the hack into, they will got some like digital record. It's easily to be traced. And also the security level is much higher. That's the reason we want to propose the Neo platform, which can more safe solution for the message delivered by sensor to sensor or device to the device. That's the Kneron's proposal there.
Okay, let me share something in practical in Taiwan case. Actually, there is a physical setup for the security issue. Is currently we set up an emergency button in each vehicle. Once the driver sense there might be attacked by the hack, they will push the button and the autonomous vehicle will be manually changed to by the driver, okay? Secondly, as a service provider, in my point of view, we have to identify what kind of services that we could provide and just isolate it as that each application individually as we can because we couldn't avoid any hacker because just mentioned 道高一尺魔高一丈. I totally agree with that. But at least we have to reduce the possibility be hacked in the system. So currently we are still looking for some chips or solutions just like a blockchain to integrate in the system right now. Actually, I think the cybersecurity issue is still under talking, but it's really still room for investigate.
Cybersecurity right now is such a big topic just because everyone's looking at it, right? Everyone's got a different solution. Everyone's worried, oh, if it's my car or a car fleet. So I think, like you mentioned earlier, right, every single one of our companies here, we're all very focused on security and safety. Right?
Yeah.
That will be the endless battle between the hacker and the protector.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that one's ever going to end.
Yeah, so I think before everything has been ready, currently the implementation could be relied on the VPN because we can simply isolate it someone that do not related to the platform, firstly, and using the VPN with such kind of infrastructure, we can allow and control the suitable person to make their suitable decision in this field.
Okay. So do you think that there are going to be different standards for IoV in China and the rest of the world?
I think the standard should be vary from different regions. But we talk about that, but something is very common, like safety, like security, and more computing. So let's separately talking about that. For the safety, so we all know with some industrial standard called ISO 26262, they will focus on the like a vehicle. So they would define as the standard to how can you decide the safety on enough the system. So I think that would be some comment from different regions. And talking about security, as I know, some of the cybersecurity standards going to deliver. So once they publish, I think the industrial, they will follow the same rule. And the final one is the computing. So for that one, there will be some of the interesting area because each of company, they have their plan. So I don't think there will be a very standard on this area. And every player, every company can deliver their idea and make the system, make the industry more stronger.
Yeah, I agree with that,
Yeah.
but I think it might not be region to region differences. It might be even country to country differences, right?
Yeah.
Because, or like in the States, it might be state to state, just because, you know, driving conditions are different everywhere. You know, when you look at, say, a standard of, say, security or certification, generally it'll be kind of a large set, right? I'm sure, like, you know, if you drive in the States versus, say, drive in Taiwan, they're night and day, right? And then you go to, say, China or Vietnam, entirely different. You can't use the same set of rules, right? So I think just safety in that sense, standards would be different. And because these standards are different, you would assume cybersecurity standards would be different depending on local sensitivities as well. So I think for all of us who travel, or like you're in California a lot too, well, no, you live here.
I drive in both places.
Yeah, me too. I drive in both places too, and then you realize that, like, where are the motorcycles? Right? I'm really not used to that in the States. Or like you have to treat a motorcycle as a car in the States, where you definitely don't do that here, right? So I think just local sensitivities in terms of driving safety will make your cybersecurity regulations different too. And this will vary Probably from state to state or country to country, rather than say, oh, China versus the world, or EU versus the world. It will probably be quite sensitive in each country.
I agree. So if we look at the past patterns, for example, if we look at the telecom standards, from 3G, 4G, now 5G, China all have their own standards, right? If we look at broadcasting, set-top box standards, security on the set-top box, China also developed their own standards. So if we look at IoV, I think for sure they're going to develop their own standards. They got so big domestic market, and the government really want to be in control. So.
No, I think you brought up a good point, meaning just the communication standards are different too, right?
Right.
If you look at, say, US versus Korea, they're different too.
That's right.
And then Japan has their own too. So all of these countries, they're definitely going to have different protocols or different regulations. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for my point of view, I think it's a big topic. There are for example, it's a chip label of the standard, or a system label of standard, or software label of standard. For chip label standard, I think at least for the past couple of years, right? I think China's car chip, they all follow the ISO, right? Even every country, if you are going to sell your chip into the car, you need to fulfill the couple of ISO standard, right? You need to have a more corner to check. The chip need to have a longer life cycle and can tolerate the different temperature, different criteria, right? But for system label or software label standard point of view, I think China is a big country. Right? They always, even 3G, 4G, they all want to propose their own standard. Then the things are focusing in mainland China, even Taiwan and United States are quite different. In United States, you need to, when you are driving, you need to be careful about the reindeer jumping out, and there's no reindeer in mainland China. They kill all of them, right? and in Taiwan, you probably need to care about, sorry. But in Taiwan, you probably need to care about motorcycle, but there's no motorcycle in mainland and United States. So for software, I believe the standard will be quite different than United States. But for even more close to the hardware, even they want to have proposed their own standard, but hardware supply chain is quite strong, right? Everyone needs to tap out in TSMC So I think in this big topic, at least, I think there will be something common, and there will be something, even they want to make difference, it's hard. It's very difficult to make difference. But there will be something they can easily to have their own particle. For example, I think Baidu was the #1 company. They already released a car platform back to 2 years ago for self-automatic driving. And you can see they really define their certain standard. For example, their API are quite different as the Tesla's one. Their the interface are quite different. Even how they judge what kind of the conflict happen, the priority they care are also quite different. Maybe for example, a small difference we notice is when there are two cars hitting together, they care about more car than people. So it's just different cultures, different thinking, and also different governments their priorities. So I would say some people are saying that self-automatic driving, eventually the bottleneck will be the legal, right? So the legal difference also make their difference to define the rule and also the software judgment guideline, right? So I believe they will have their own standard in software part for sure, but in hardware part it's not. It's less, the possibility is less.
Okay. In my point of view, current status is we are focusing on more application side because actually in application side, we were only focusing on the user story, which defined by 5G AA, and the 5G AA is consists of from the United States or Europe or China, so there do not have any restriction to us because currently we just try to figure out what kind of user story is suitable in Taiwan area and how can we achieve such kind of user stories right now. So I have different point of view. that in the software, we do not have such kind of restriction, especially on the standardization.
So from your perspective, where do you see IoV growing the fastest? I recently read a book that said that the automobile market in China was growing very rapidly. That was before coronavirus. Now it's kind of slowed down. So I'm just kind of wondering from your point of view, where do you see IoV growing the fastest at this point?
I think that for the IoV, let's think it more broadly. So once the vehicle becomes more electronic, more digital, so what will happen? So as an ARM, we already see the very strong growing on the ADAS. Because I read a report, it's talking about 90% of the accident is caused by human error. And during the research, they say that half of the accident can be covered by the ADAS. So we already have a lot of partners, they do build a chip for the ADAS segment. So that one is very committed. So another part, we also see a lot of some like the driver monitor system, the DMS. So the people start thinking about to put the camera inside the car to monitor the driver behavior. For example, your transportation or bus drivers, sounds like a use case. So we see a lot of the partner that leverage the traditional, like the smartphone experience to put the facial unlock kind of a technology inside the vehicle. So the technology is very mature, just change to the different application area. So we believe some of the application like this kind, they were very growing in the future, couple of years.
Yeah, I think one of the things about the growing IoV is just what aspect of IoV would be growing, right? Right now, like we were discussing inside too, right? IoV is such a broad topic right now. Like say, you could argue that OTA updates is IoV. You could argue that maps are IoV. These are all aspects of it, right? Autonomous vehicles being able to talk between cars or the internet itself. There's so many different aspects, it's kind of hard to pinpoint which part or where would be the biggest growth, but you can see that everyone's going towards that direction in different aspects, right? Like just getting data, right? We were discussing earlier with Patty saying how much data they get in terms of for their mapping information, right? That can be in vehicle or not, and regardless of where you are, they need the internet connection to get this data, and then applying, the application of that to say their maps or whatnot, and then to your vehicle itself. So I think this whole IoV thing is it's such a wide topic, so it's kind of hard to say where you would say has the biggest growth because you can't really compare which one is larger. Right, just there's so many aspects that makes it interesting, though, to me at least. Right.
Yeah, I agree. So if we look at the past patterns, nowadays what's available, for example, in Europe, nowadays eco is mandatory. So the eco module is actually a IoV device, right? That's a modem that transmits, for example, your data into some data center, and when you have a car crash, it will send, for example, your location data and your car status to the calling center, and they will dispatch the rescue to you immediately. And that's enabled by the internet, right? And that's, I think that's mandatory, if I remember correctly, that's ever since 2016, every car produced in Europe should be equipped with such a capability. So that's just one use case. So if we look at IoV, there are so many use cases, like Jeff just mentioned, map, sensors, and also the communication between cars. So I think that's totally depend on what the government and what the the use model or the requirements of that area that would define, this kind of a possibility.
And the infrastructure.
Infrastructure, exactly.
You got to be able to actually connect.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I agree. All of you guys, like what we just mentioned. I think IoV is a really broad area, right? For a technology point of view, I think, for example, the sensor inside your car, the communication part. I think the two companies are in more advanced, right? First one is Broadcom. Asia probably is I think Realtek. Yeah. So in that specific area. But for like ADAS, like how the government support the ADAS, I think China go pretty fast because the government force all the car need to install ADAS like within 1 or 2 years. But for technology point of view, I think Tesla, which is a United States company, and also the Google, they develop the self-automatic driving, and also the car platform, software platform are quite mature. So, I mean, there are so many different angle point and also so many angle point of view to see like what sub area inside IoV, which country like play the major role, right? For electricity car or the low power car, I think Japan, they dump so much of the resource and develop several couple of years. Of course, right now Tesla is really strong, right? So I would say I think every country there has their own advantage, and in this big broad area, everyone has their opportunity. So it really depends on which area you want to more focus on.
Yeah, I think despite of the vehicle-to-vehicle communication on the IoV applications, I think the traffic management could be growing very fast in Taiwan because currently what I can see, there are many experimental environments are testing the intersection with some camera and the LiDAR or radar sensors integration and transmit the detection results through the RSU to OBU. Such kind of application is built up by our government and could be supported by government. So to build up the IoV from the infrastructure could be very fast built in Taiwan.
And then that goes back to, this whole infrastructure thing, right? Even when we're talking about IoV, what Patty was just mentioning is not necessarily in vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So many things impact our vehicles. And
5G, then Qualcomm is the king. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And for the chip inside the car, then NVIDIA is the king.
Not only in the vehicle.
We are the partner, right?
I think there's still many products by the NVIDIA also doing the Edge AI.
Yeah,
is also adopting in current intersection monitoring system right now. So I think it could be a mainstream in Taiwan.
At least for me, definitely, I hope so.
So what do you see as some of the key opportunities for companies in Taiwan in the IoV business?
Okay. I think I can start from the silicon vendors part. So as I mentioned, that the people will start enjoy we call the immersive in-vehicle experience. They want to bring some of their experience in their cell phone, they have smart home, those kind of experience inside their vehicle. So multimedia, connectivity, or some of a lot of the human interface, the kind of experience, that would be some of the big opportunity there for Taiwan. So behind the car, we also see another kind of a growing area is called service, like a software service. For example, like a last mile delivery, like fix the shuttle route, kind of the software service. There will be a lot of business. So, and the final things, once we have the IoV in the vehicle, there will be a lot of data inside the vehicle, right? So, if we want to well process the data, we do see some of the innovations talking about computational storage. You can compute the data inside the memory itself. So those kind of area, we do see that will be the Taiwan, the partner can take the case to go in their business.
Yeah, I agree with especially the second part, you know, in terms of, especially for Taiwan, where we're in a really unique position, I guess, where there's IoV being such a large topic or such a big subject, where there's so many areas where people can innovate, especially on the software side, right? We're looking at pretty much most of the stuff we just mentioned are almost all software-based, right? You be it, you know, actually adding value to, be it ADAS, or be it to smart city monitoring, or traffic monitoring, or even parking itself, right? People keep talking about, oh, self-parking, that'd be a great IoV thing to do, because we all hate parking, right? But there's so many aspects to it that people are working on, but there's no clear-cut solution, right? And I'm sure there's plenty of innovation out there that I haven't thought of. And so I think, you know, within the IoT frame, I would say there's so much opportunity in just identifying features and where you can innovate. And a lot of these would be software-based, you know. And yes, AI being software, ADAS being software, even maps being software, you know, it's how you integrate and how you use all the data that, or how some people can get data, right? That really could give you an advantage, right? So I think a lot of that can be done in Taiwan.
Yeah, I think from hardware standpoint, if we look at IoV, it's actually, if we look at, it's like a connected Wi-Fi laptop with 4 wheels, or a laptop, I mean a smartphone with 4 wheels. And talking about these devices, Taiwan is really, you know, with a stronghold, providing all kinds of R&D and module making capabilities. I think that stands a great chance for Taiwan. I think the next challenge will be, are we ready to adapt into the automotive area? We talk about reliability from automotive standpoint of view, and also Odin mentioned the safety standpoint of view, right? So we need to be ready. We have the capability to make all this hardware and software capability, but we need to look at that's automotive, and that's carrying someone that's alive, and you know, when a computer crash, it just crash, right? Yeah. But when a car crash, somebody really, you know, have to die. You know? So,
yeah, that's a different type of crash.
I think for my point of view, I believe semiconductor and also the OEM and ODM are always the most strong advantage for Taiwan. I think no matter which chip you are going to make, they are going to tap out in TSMC, right? So no doubt TSMC will again, which company win, right? And for semiconductor, I also like just the company, the Realtek I just mentioned. I think in Ethernet inside the car, right now it's only 2 company players. First is Qualcomm, then Asia probably is only Realtek. So it's also another possibility that Taiwan has a chance, which is the chip inside the car. And NVIDIA is too strong, so there's no another GPU inside the Taiwan. So I think at least for other chip like memory and also the Ethernet or operation chip that Taiwan has a chance. And for OEM point of view, I guess, I think even the Foxconn, they just announced they are going to enter the car business, right, a couple days ago, right? So I believe in OEM, ODM, Taiwan must play a key role. And the weak point probably will be the platform and the software. Yeah, because most of the software engineer in Taiwan is doing the firmware and driver development in the chip company. So that's we don't have the DNA for the platform. That's something we really need to overcome.
Well, that's why I keep saying that for Taiwan, I would love for Taiwan software engineers to reach out beyond.
It's much
that, right?
cheaper compared with the United States.
That's one thing. But I think Taiwan software engineers have the capability, just that, like you said, most of them are writing firmware.
Yeah.
They become a firmware engineer in Taiwan.
Yeah.
But in the United States, the most talent software engineering go to Google and Facebook. Yeah, it's a pure software company. And the salary is much higher than Qualcomm salary. So, but it's vice versa in Taiwan.
Okay, I would like to answer this question start from the Hutosang Innovation Hub, where is autonomous vehicle coast area test field. I have been working there for almost 1 year, and through this period that I found there are several companies there are several Taiwanese companies that they have a very good assembly capability or build up a very good quality camera or LiDARs. And I think the key for the opportunity for all of these Taiwanese companies is just try to move forward to find someone that can collaborate on autonomous vehicle and connect to the IoV industry. I think that is a very good direction to all the Taiwanese companies right now, because as I currently know, there are several global brand LiDAR or radar key components are all manufactured by Taiwanese companies right now. So I think that is a very good opportunity if we can work together in Taiwan and just move forward. Yeah.
Okay. And then I have one question specifically for Macronics. How is Macronics going to design memory for the IoV market? Will memory be integrated with other silicon? And how soon will Macronics offer some of these IoV solutions?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So I think if we look at the short term today and the near term and the long term, we actually have a roadmap looking to the IoV. So as a matter of fact, IoV today, so as I mentioned, for example, the eco module, we have a key player. We play with several chipset suppliers. So we support them with memory solutions. So that's happening actually today, right? And for the near term, for example, I mentioned we have a cooperation, for example, with NVIDIA autonomous driving capability and sensors and other things. So that's near term, that's under development, and we're going to see that in vehicles in probably 2-3 years on the road. And in the further aspect, when we talk about IoV, we cannot avoid the artificial intelligence, right? So there are some experts here. They are very known for the AI capability in the chips. So from Macronics' point of view, we think that the calculations of AI focusing today on the chipset in the future probably need to leverage into the memory. So for example, if I take that example, in AI calculations, there's a multiply and accumulation operation, right? And there's a lot of data movement between the memory and the chipset, right? So this data movement not only consuming a lot of computing power, as well as actual power consumption, right? And if we talk about large accumulation of, for example, maps, and a lot of driving behavior, that kind of big data, that requires a big data storage. So we can imagine how big amount of the data movement between the memory and the chipset. So if we can make all the data, almost, for example, 90% of data movement within the memory, so we call that the compute in memory, CIN. Compute in memory occur, then we can largely optimize the efficiency of AI calculation in the entire system. So that's our long-term goal for IoV. Yeah, so we're developing, for example, today 3D memory to enable this AI capability into the 3D memory. So that's in NAND area as well as in NOR area. That's non-volatile memory that's going to happen. So that's what we're planning today. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like to open up the Q&A session. So if any of you have questions for our guests, please raise your hand.
Any question? Yes?
Well, maybe I could just kind of get the ball rolling here. So everybody here, I'm sure, knows about Foxconn, getting into the EV business. They've announced several partnerships, one with High-Tech, which is part of the Yulong Group. But then they've also announced a partnership with Fiat internationally. And so I think there's a lot of talk about, is Taiwan going to be able to make this transition from sort of the PC, smartphone world into EVs and that sort of area? A lot of people say that there's a big opportunity here for Taiwan companies, but I'd just like to hear maybe what some of your thoughts are, but also from people in the audience.
You mean like Taiwan's opportunities, or?
Well, okay, we see the smartphone business, that's kind of been the mainstay of
PC smartphones,
for Taiwan, right? Or laptops, those businesses are all kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of companies are now thinking, what's next? What are we going to do next? And so when you see a company like Foxconn saying, hey, we're getting into EVs now, it seems like there must be an opportunity for Taiwan here. So I'd just like to hear what your thoughts are on that.
I think it's more difficult compared with PC or cell phone. Yeah, because like everyone probably will switch to another cell phone like within 1 or 2 years, right? Everyone probably will switch to another PC for another like 2 or 3 years, right? But how many cars you have been switched, right? How many cars you have been buying in your lifetime, right? So, and also the difficulty, the technical boundary is even higher. Like everyone just say, the PC crash is just crash, right? And yeah, but for a car, it got crashed, then maybe that might, someone probably will die, right? So, there's an opportunity, of course, but there's also the challenge. And how can we overcome the challenge? Will be Taiwan's culture is familiar with, I think someone saying the reason that in the PC or cell phone industry, Taiwan got a chance to like beat the Japanese companies because Japan, they like to do something probably you can use that forever. The quality is high, pretty high. But Taiwan probably will just do something cheaper. Quality is good enough. But I mean, then that kind of the style, that kind of industry culture really fulfill for the PC and cell phone market needs because people will switch and change to another new one. Like, so you don't need to, someone make the joke of saying that Taiwan's OEM, ODM make the PC, probably they only last for 5 years. But that's okay because people change to another new PC within 3 or 4 years, right? But Japanese make a PC that can last for 10 years, but it's much expensive. That's why Taiwan win in that battle. But would that be the same case for car? Yeah, that's questionable, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's a good question. When I visit some customer in Europe, and when I chat with them, many of them mentioning that for their kids now, many of their kids now maybe like early 20s, many of their kids don't buy cars nowadays. They use a shared car model, right? In Europe, all of us know that, for example, with the Mercedes-Benz, with the BMW, they have this kind of car sharing model in multiple cities, big cities in Europe already. So I can foresee that it's going to happen, maybe not too far from today in Taiwan as well. And this kind of new car making model, for example, if people not going to own their cars, they're just going to take advantage of the sharing car models, then this manufacturing and expense model will be completely different. You know, you take your car to the garage for repair, but in the future, you just, you know, take out your mobile phone or your card to swipe and drive whatever car you get, you know, access to, you know, that's nearest to you, right? For Taiwan, I think we need to look at that trend and to see what's the requirements and what's the enabler for that, and what's the entry, where's the entry door to be part of that solution. I think that's critical.
And global-wise, you can see there's also there's no big Taiwan brands car company, right? So in this industry, if the Taiwan has enough talent, understand this industry is also another challenge we should overcome.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Albert was saying too, because you're right, we don't have a
T1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have anything close to, say, a Toyota or anything, right? We don't have anything like that.
Right.
So, but even automotive business, I won't say EV, but the automotive business, like industry, is so ginormous that everyone might be able to get a chance, but we don't have this history of building cars and whatnot. So do we have the expertise to do this? Obviously, we're working towards that direction, but can you get there in a timely manner?
Yeah.
And with changing business models, there's just so many different aspects to it. So not that we don't have an opportunity. I think Taiwan definitely does. Just there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. I think I can comment on something. So during some of the news you have mentioned that maybe we can just not think about just the vehicle inside in the road. So Taiwan have very strong manufacturing, right? So some of the concepts talk about smart manufacturing. So when you're doing your manufacturing, you no longer to need a human to drive the car, to use some of the equipment. If we can provide more of some like intelligent stuff to replace to reduce the cost in the manufacturing side, it could be another interesting area which the company they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think although Taiwan do not have our own brand car platform, but I think the smart transportation could be a valuable thinking to think about what is the next step, including the IoV or the car sharing, such kind of services, because we just mentioned the car sharing services might be limited into 4 people, but what is currently our government doing is they are working on how to build up the last mile services, which is based on the shuttle bus. That we can imagine the people in Taiwan is getting older, and we will face the driver shortage problems in the near far future. So if we think about how to make the transportation much more smarter, it could be an opportunity, and try to figure out what is the key component in the smart transportations that is the next that we should figure it out. Honestly, through the experimental environment, we learned a lot of standards or communication content, but we still do not figure out how to make a business model from the public transportation or smart transportations, because such kind of services will only serve for specific users. So I think the first step could be the government should pay some investigation on build up the basic infrastructure firstly, and encourage all the industry to think about how to make a smart transportation to become true in one day. I think that is the key to make to make all the Taiwanese companies opportunity. Yeah.
Albert, I see you thinking.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think in the IoV, probably someone saying that the software or the platform might be even more important than hardware. So I think no doubt, I think Taiwan can gain some partial of the market share in hardware, no matter it's OEM, ODM, or semiconductor, TSMC and USD, no doubt they will gain opportunity. But the software is also, I think it's always the weakest point for Taiwan. We don't have the DNA to build up the platform. Eventually, because of the car business, the life cycle is quite long, right? If you build a car, then you probably expect that car will last for more than 5 or, probably 8 years. So maybe eventually will be the something very similar like Uber, but it's a self-automatic driving platform will be the king, right? Will be play the major role in the IoV whole ecosystem. Then two challenges Taiwan doesn't have is we don't have a DNA for software platform, and we don't have a DNA for the car branding, right? So eventually probably it's car branding or software service play the major role. Then in the semiconductor, probably we will gain something, but that might be eventually end up into the foundry part. So that's my guess. And probably we can play some role in the OEM and ODM, but it's also something I'm not 100% sure because Taiwan's OEM and ODM culture is more like the quality might not fulfill for cost standard. So that's also another challenge in Taiwan's OEM and ODM company to overcome.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, because just to play off of what Albert was saying, right? You've got all these different capabilities here, but I think right now we're kind of focused on cars, but also, when Patty's also talking about other infrastructure, but there's so many different things when it comes to, say, an autonomous vehicle, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be a car. Even though we are talking about cars, there's public transportation, there's delivery system.
Yeah, robotics.
Yeah, robotics, delivery cars. Like even like Domino's is coming up with a small delivery bot, right, to send their pizzas around. That's not exactly a car, but it's a vehicle, right? So you've got stuff like that. All these car companies coming out talking about shortage of drivers, so that's why they're looking at trucks and to actually go long haul to hopefully keep roads safer, so you're not driving 48 hours at a time, right? And these are large delivery trucks, whatnot. So again, I guess this goes to another broad topic, but when you have this many verticals and horizontal markets going on at the same time, even the fleet management itself could be software again, but fleet management itself could be a very interesting opportunity to grow on too.
Okay. So, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? No more questions? Okay.
Okay, well, I guess we'll leave it at that then. So, thank you everyone for sharing your views.
Yep.
And hopefully I'll see you again next year, perhaps.
Yes, thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evan, and all for the guests. And it's time for us to close the meeting. So, shall we take photo together? Okay, stand up, please. Thank you. Thank you. So we need to get closer. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it should
I
be
don't know what.
So shall we found up? Found up. Thank you. 3, 2, 1. Yes. Okay. One more position. The list shape for heart. Okay. Heart. Thank you. One more. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations. Thanks for your attention. Yes.
From Korea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
对啊，就是。
我们是不是再一次热情的掌声给我们所有在台上的愉悦嘉宾？我们针对呢这一次 Alan 针对我们来自我们 ETS Alan， 还有来自我们 NVIDIA 的 Jeff Yan， 以及我们来自 ARM 的 Ozen， 以及 from Microelectronics 的 Gabriel，and 我们的 Kneron 的 Albert， 以及 Keysight 的 Patty。今天呢，很高兴的和大家一同在舞台上进行了圆桌论坛。那也正是我们这次研讨会的最后主轴。那我们这一次呢，要进行的最后一个桥段。